Normally when people are putting up kitchen cabinets, they would strip everything off the walls. They put the upper cabinets on first. And it makes it a lot easier. That way you can walk right up to the wall, have usually a helper hold it in place, or you can put a couple of sticks under to the right height and hold it in place while you actually screw it to the wall. But in my case, when I was building the house a couple of years ago, in order to get an occupancy permit, and we were anxious to move into our house, we had to have our kitchen sink in place, and that meant putting some cabinets in place. So we put the cabinets and the dishwasher and the stove in place so we could get our occupancy permit so we could move into the house quickly. And we didn't put any upper cabinets. And we were fine because I had a pantry to the side here. So to now put the upper cabinets in, I can't get to the wall just by walking over to it. And so it makes it a little bit hard, especially with just one person. So the ideal, what I do, is I've made these two jigs from some scrap wood that go against the wall. You can see that they're the same height as the bottom of this cabinet here, because I've used these before to set that cabinet. Basically, by putting them here, I can then lift this cabinet up on top, rest them on these particular jigs, and that will hold it to the right height. And the right height, normally in a modern kitchen, is 18 inches from the top of the lower cabinet, countertop, to the bottom of the cabinet. And that gives you plenty of room to put things like kettles or toasters or bread makers or whatever underneath without, and still be able to be fully functional. Also, I believe it's code that next to a stove or an oven, some type of cook range, that you're supposed to be a minimum of 18 inches above that as well. How I actually built these, it's just scrap wood. In fact, from a sawmill, got these old wood. You can see the old wormholes. They were sitting on the ground for a while. They were just ends off something that were cut off, and I've been using them in the basement for my scrap pile. And a couple of pieces of plywood that were left over from probably an earlier cabinet that I built, and just, if you can see, I've pocket holed them in. So these are 18 inches high from top to bottom, so that way they're the right height to sit the cabinet on top of them. These are just triangle supports to keep it from falling over. They're just glued and pocket holed in place. And what I've done is, using a jigsaw, I've cut out for this backslash return on the countertop. To figure out what the proper dimensions for that cutout, I simply took a piece of paper, held it in place, just traced around the outside to get that mark. Once I've taken and traced out the end of the return for the countertop, I can then cut that out with scissors. You can either tape it or just simply trace it around the end of the wood, and then just cut it out with a jigsaw, a hand saw, band saw, whatever is most convenient for you, what you have. And it's better to be a little slightly bigger than you need than small. You don't want it too tight. You want it to be flush against the wall, because this will help support, by being against the actual wall, to help to support the cabinet. And you don't want all the pressure being on that return. It's just a thin laminate there. You don't want to break that or crush that with the weight of a cabinet. There, as you can see, the cabinet is resting there fine. It's up against the other cabinet. It's in against the back wall. And now I can just fiddle with it, just finesse with it a little bit to get it exactly where I want it. So this is as good as I can actually get it. They're at the same height on the bottom. The top is not that important. There's going to be some crown molding or some other type of molding across the top. As long as I can get this joint as tight as I can, tight against the back wall for the screws, it's all perfect. I'm using 2.5-inch screws go into the studs in the wall through the back of these supports. And in the back here, they'll hold that. There'll be there's 4 of them in total. I'll hold it using 1 1/4 screws just behind the face frame going into here as well, just to hold this all tight and to provide extra support that way, and to keep these together as much as I can, or as close as I can. And to find the studs, I'm just using a stud sensor. I'm being careful to measure each side of the stud, not just relying on this to give me the center. That way I know, because I know there's an electrical outlet off the stud. I want to make sure I'm getting down through the stud and not over to the side where the wire is coming up. I believe it does go up to the ceiling and across. Already this is pretty strong on the wall now. And there we have another cabinet installed. Just needs doors and just a little touch of paint between where the 2 cabinets join. Just they'll help to blend in together a little better. Anyway, just a quick video for right now. If you got any questions, please offer them in the comments. I'd be happy to respond. Or if you've got a better idea, I'd be glad to hear it. Anyway, this is Don. If you like this, please subscribe. Please provide whatever comments about what I like or don't like, or what you're doing, and any tips that you may have as well that may help anyone else who's doing their own DIYs. Take care until the next video.